Training camp is well underway for the Miami Dolphins, and in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the highlights of training camp thus far, how this roster is shaping out, positions of strength, weakness, and everything in between. So, before I hop into today's video, quick little plug to my merch shop, thedolphinsdive.com, the best Dolphins merch out there. You can get 2 graphic tees. There's some updates needed due to a lot of the off-season moves, but check it out for the best Dolphins merch. Without further ado, I'm going to hop right into today's video, and I'm going to go right down the depth chart in terms of highlights, starting with the quarterback room. Honestly, I feel like this is the best the overall quarterback rooms looked from. Obviously, Tua, the starting quarterback, has complete mastery of this offense. The ball barely touches the ground when he's out there on the field. He threw his first interception today, which once again, I kind of want to see him throw some interceptions, be a little aggressive, and see what he can and can't do. And it was in the low red zone, so obviously space is limited. But then Zach Wilson has shown flashes. Obviously, there's also been the accuracy lapses, which is obviously a part of his game. And then Quinn Ewers, obviously our late round draft pick, also doing pretty well, which is something that we like to see. I expect all 3 quarterbacks to make the roster, but you kind of like to see the overall group do a solid job. And once again, Tua is that dude. Like, there's no doubt Tua is the franchise quarterback. The only thing is his health. If Tua stays healthy, he is a franchise QB. Without further ado, right into the running back position. Once again, a solid looking room. Devon Achane. I would say, surprisingly, the second back to make the most noise this training camp has been Alexander Mattison. Like, it seems like he's got the RB2 job. Now, once again, they might not give it to him because they want to give it to the young guy. But in terms of the person making the most plays, it's been Alexander Mattison. I've heard a little bit of Ollie Gordon, a little bit of Jalen Wright, but the second running back you hear the most in terms of making plays has been Alexander Mattison, which is a nice surprise. And that's obviously why you go out and sign a vet in for free agency to help kind of elevate the room and not just kind of rely on young guys and make people win jobs. So it's a good problem to have because I feel confident in Jalen Wright's ability. But yeah, Alexander Mattison has been very surprising. And especially in that room, injuries are so prevalent for running backs that you can never have enough. So even if Alexander Mattison starts the season as RB2, there's going to be snaps for Jalen Wright and Ollie Gordon, and see who really earns those snaps. In terms of the wide receiver room, continues to look like one of the best positions on the roster, which has been in year out since we've had Tyreek and Waddle, and it's continued to get rounded out with Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. D. Eskridge has been tremendous. He got carted off, but it was just cramps, which is good. But he's had a phenomenal camp, and you've seen when he's healthy how much faith the coaching staff has in him. Malik Washington, Waddle appears to be wide receiver 1, although I feel like there's been times in previous camps where it seemed that way, and they still make Tyreek the number 1 guy. But I would love for the Dolphins to make Tyreek or Jalen Waddle more of the number 1 in progressions more often. I feel like the offense has been very Tyreek-centered. I'd like to see that be more balanced between Tyreek and Waddle. Obviously, you want the quarterback to just go through his progressions, but plays are designed to beat certain coverages with certain routes, and I would like Waddle to be that featured route more often than I feel like he has been in the past. But overall, this room is very good, something the Dolphins are definitely going to rely upon. It's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out at the bottom. I think you obviously have Tyreek, Waddle, Nick Westbrook, Malik Washington is that 5th spot. Probably D. Eskridge's to lose. You have Taj Washington and obviously Andrew Armstrong, those guys that we signed as UDFAs with a lot of upside. So I'm curious to see how this room shakes out. In terms of the tight ends, Pharaoh Brown has been making a lot of noise in terms of doing a good job blocking. I expected Julian Hill to kind of continue to progress. I think there's an opportunity for Pharaoh Brown to win that main tight end blocking role away from Julian Hill. I'm curious to see how that shakes out. Obviously, it's hard to go off of practice reports because not everybody's watching a tight end blocking. But once again, in terms of just the overall noise, I feel like I've been hearing a lot of good from Pharaoh Brown pushing people off of the line of scrimmage. So, something to monitor. I'm excited to see that throughout preseason as well as the practices between teams. I'm forgetting the word for that. In terms of the offensive line, once again, more good noise coming out of the O-line. Patrick Paul looks like a franchise left tackle. Once again, training camp, Pat just came on, but all the noise has been very good on Patrick Paul, holding his own against some of the top edge rushers in football, and Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, Chop Robinson. Pat Paul has been that dude, and that's something the Dolphins really needed, and it appears they got. Once again, something to continue to monitor. You can't just bank it because of a few good practices, but as promising that the Dolphins might have hit on that left tackle position in last year's draft. In terms of Jonas Vainaya, also looking very good. Once again, too early to tell. You really don't fully know what you have until you're in live action games, but Jonah has appeared to be well. The noise around from his teammates, really respecting him. He is a rookie, but doesn't carry himself like one. He's been first in, last out. Like everything you want to hear, it's promising for Jonah. It appears, based on early training camp, so once again, take it with a bit of grain of salt, but it appears Chris Greer might have hit on this year and last year's first and second round picks, which is not a given. I know people want to consider it a given, but like that's very good, especially after a few off seasons of being very heavy in acquiring veteran talent to finally regroup and draft players and being able to hit on those players. Like you have to do that if you want to have success running an NFL franchise, and it appears he has. In terms of the rest of the offensive line, kind of business as usual. Aaron Brewer, we know what we have there. He's finally practicing again, looking good. Right guard James Daniels, once again, looking the part. Austin Jackson went down with an injury. Thankfully, shouldn't keep him out for week 1, but I don't know if we're going to see him until then, which sucks. It sounds like it's a foot injury. He was stepped on, and that could be something that's recurring, especially in offensive linemen, constantly relying on their footwork and pushing off of it. So hopefully it's not something that lingers into the season, but definitely could. So overall, quarterbacks look good. Running backs Alexander Madison flashing. The O-line's looking the part. So the Dolphins have been having a solid training camp. In terms of the defensive line, obviously the interior was a big question mark heading into this season, relying on a lot of youth. And the youth has so far looked very good. Between Kenneth Grant and Jordan Phillips, both of those players have been making very good noise. Especially Jordan Phillips. I'm hearing a lot of good things about Jordan Phillips. His strength, his ability to hold off double teams, which is something that we need in this defense, who like to keep the safeties 2 back, but still be able to stop the run. And if Jordan Phillips is able to provide that, that'll be huge. We know what we have in Kenneth Grant, who, once again, I feel like every time I see someone talk about him, is like he moves incredibly well for his size. So really liking how this defensive line room is looking. I want to see Zach Sealer get his extension, which I think is probably around the corner. That man's earned it. I've been against Chris Greer kind of extending people too soon, but there's kind of people that you're comfortable doing it with. Zach Sealer's 100%. I feel comfortable giving Zach Sealer that contract he deserves. That's a good precedent to set. He's a tremendous worker, person, everything you want in a football player, Zach Sealer is, which is why I'm cool for the Dolphins to look to extend him. But with the young players looking as good as they have, you can feel pretty confident in this defensive line room. Once again, we don't have the full answers until the regular season hits, but the noise has been good, which is what you want to see. In terms of the edge room, once again, looking very good with that trio of Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, Chop Robinson. I don't know why I'm blanking. But there's other people in that room that have been making plays. I'm hearing Quentin Bell's name. I'm hearing Grayson Murphy's name. I'm hearing Cam Good's name. So, there's been plays being made all throughout this depth chart. Obviously, you have your top 3, but the depth in that room is really good. So, something you love to see, specifically at that position, which you like to see kind of rotated in and out, help keep those guys fresh, especially on third down. So, once again, feeling phenomenal about that edge room, and we know what the top of the room can provide. In terms of the inside backers, another stacked room that I feel very confident in between Jordan Brooks, Willie Gay, Tyrell Dotson. Obviously, the room beyond those 3 isn't the best, so would like to see kind of more youthful names pop up more than I have. But nonetheless, the top of that room is phenomenal. That I feel very confident in. Willie Gay, Willie Gay and Jordan Brooks, you hear their names day in, day out in these training camp updates of making great plays, and that's going to be a formidable duo, in my opinion. I think Willie Gay probably wins that position, but I think there's going to be a lot of rotating, which I'm cool with. In terms of the cornerback room, obviously the sketchiest room on the roster for the Miami Dolphins, I would have felt much more comfortable had Kader Kohou not went down with the ACL injury, which is brutal. Kohou was our number 1 guy heading into this offseason, which was obviously filled with turnover at the cornerback position. You know what you have in Kohou. He's a person that has inside-out versatility, knows the defense, is physical, especially for his size, just quality player, and to lose him sucks. Dolphins obviously went out and signed Mike Hilton as well as Jack Jones. And then Storm Duck has gotten 2 orange jerseys. He's getting hyped up from the likes of Tyreek, Waddle, Mike McDaniel. So Storm Duck has cemented himself probably as one of those starting corners. I would also say Mike Hilton has, just with his veteran experience, his ability to just be a freaking dog. I love the clips I've been seeing of him on Twitter, from whether he's diving at Josh Allen like a missile or just being a dog stopping the run from the slot. Like, I think he's kind of going to be that slot cornerback that we rely upon. In terms of that third corner, I would say it's probably Jack Jones's to lose. Cam Smith, once again, kind of missing a day with injury. Mike McDaniel took a bit of a jab at him, like this is his problem, and he's continuing to have this problem. So I would say it's probably Jack Jones's to lose. I don't love that. I don't love the depth in the room either. But I will say I feel confident Storm Duck and Mike Hilton. It's kind of that third corner, which I wish was Kohu. But it'll be interesting to see how it shapes out the rest of training camp. And once again, at the end of training camp, so many players get cut that the Dolphins can kind of have a little bit of turnover at the back of that cornerback room and kind of see who rises to the top. And if the Dolphins are in contention at the trade deadline, can go out and look to acquire a corner. So it's not the best looking room, but with how this defense plays, with a lot of the stress being on being able to physically assert yourself, make tackles, and rely on the defensive front to cause havoc and force the ball out quick, I trust Anthony Weaver's game plan to be able to kind of cover up maybe not having the best corners. But obviously we will see come Sunday time. But I'm excited to see how Storm Duck has developed in year 2. And then in terms of the safety room, looking solid. Minkah's making plays day in, day out. Not hearing much outside of that. I feel like I've heard Elijah Campbell's name probably the most outside of Minkah. Ifeatu Melifonwu finally is practicing starting today, so obviously haven't heard a lot from him. Hearing Patrick McMorris's name a little bit as well, but Ashton Davis was making plays until he went down with injury. So right now I would say it's going to be Minkah and Ifeatu. In terms of third safety, I would say it looks like it's going to be Elijah's, but I would say Patrick McMorris is probably fourth in that running. So once again, interested to see how preseason and just the rest of training camp folds for the safety position. But overall, that's my highlights for training camp thus far. I would say, once again, things are looking good. Obviously, the cornerback room's sketchy. Excited to see how that plays out. The safety room, I'm curious to see how that third safety shapes out. But aside from that, like, I just want players to continue to develop and stay healthy. Like, if the Dolphins stay healthy, and obviously you don't want to just take your foot off the gas, but I'm liking everything I'm seeing. It seems like the practices have been intense and competitive, which is what you want to see. So I'm excited. Football's basically a month away, and I'm excited even for preseason. I'm not even a guy that gets excited for preseason, but with how young this roster is and just evaluating the back end of it, I'm excited to just watch preseason and just football is back. It's in the air. I couldn't be happier. Comment your thoughts down below. Who have you been surprised about? Who are you excited to see continue to develop throughout this training camp? Like and subscribe to help the channel grow. Until next time, fins up.